Safari, meaning journey, meaning great adventure, meaning the unforgettable. From Salou, hunting lions on horseback in the late 1800s, to Finch Hatton, the prototypical professional hunter, to the hunting greats of today. Safari, coffee at first light, the hunting vehicle in the crisp air of dawn, tracking for hours on end in the middle of the day. Then your tracker points, and your professional hunter says, take him, he's a good one. And when your rifle barks, you don't hear or feel, you only see. And then all of your senses return, all of them. Safari, a 5-gallon shower, a gourmet dinner of wild game, and then the campfire and the stories, and bed. Safari, you can't go on just one. You want to go back and back. Hunting around the world. From Alaska to Australia. From the Americas to Africa, Asia, and Europe. Sportsman on Film presents Captick, Botswana Safari.
You know, African safaris, on any relative basis, have never been cheap. Because they're unique, they require large amounts of manpower, transportation, and the tens of thousands of different items which go into maintaining a camp in the middle of nowhere. It is the only experience, in my knowledge, that can be bought for money, that will yield up to the person who goes on safari such an incredible variety of memories, excitement, true adventure in absolutely exotic surroundings. It is true value for money.
The seasonal rains have subsided, and it is the beginning of the traditional safari season in South Africa and its neighboring countries. After an overnight stay in Johannesburg, Ken Wilson of Sportsman on Film prepares to depart Lanseria Airport by charter airplane for the first of 3 Hunters Africa safari camps. The first camp will be along the Chobe River at the northern border of Botswana, south of Zambia, west of Zimbabwe, and across the Chobe from the Caprivi Strip of Namibia. The flight will take the better part of a day because of the distance and because the rifles must be inspected and customs cleared in Botswana. Former professional hunter and renowned author Peter Captick will be reliving the memories of his previous seasons in Botswana while he shows Ken the ins and outs of experiencing a Botswana safari.
Peter, tell me about Gordon Kundle.
Oh, Ken, that's a tall order. Gordon's a very dear friend of mine, and one of the last people that really puts an emphasis on the legitimacy of big game hunting. He'd never tell you himself, but he enjoys the immense distinction of a doctorate of law as a Rhodes Scholar from Oxford. He's more British than the British, although he's a Botswana citizen. He's got a very interesting personal philosophy, insomuch as rather than practice international law, which he is highly qualified to do, among other things, he'd far rather chase lions around the very, very thick bush you're going to see at Chobe. And I just can't think of anybody who really is going to be more fun to hunt with and more effective.
I really got to know Captick through his books. And, you know, he's hunted and written about virtually all the countries of Africa. Then last year he came out and hunted. And he hunted lion, but he hunted lion the proper way. He walked it up.
This airplane is coming.
You know yourself, when you go on safari with somebody, they have a very special relationship, often grows out of a safari. And I think this is what's happened between Captick and myself.
Dr. Cundle, I presume.
That's Jeff Rand.
Pleasure to see you. Sorry to cut you off, old boy.
Jeff, you're a left-hander.
For a while. Yeah, for a while.
How you guys doing?
Very good. Long flight.
Okay, Captick, Mr. Wilson, that is Charles, and that is Isaac, who has the sort of tunga. Just wait a minute. That's Kiridilo, that's Gilbert. This is Sankwazi, who is the waiter.
Waiter, okay.
White, who is the skinner. Major, who is the cook.
Major?
Sankwazi, at least Shadrach, who looks after you in your tents.
Hi, glad to meet you, Shadrach.
Karonda, who is...
Karonda, I've heard of you.
My old friend.
He's the head man. He's the head man. I read about him.
Stephen, who runs the camp.
Stephen?
That's Gordon's
Peter
boss.
Captick.
Bolo looks after us on the hunter's side. And this is the man that got run over by a buffalo last year.
Okay.
Say that again, and we shot a big lion together. Hey?
How are you?
Fine.
Nice to meet you. You speak English, too?
No.
Ken, energy in the bush is firewood. Cook with it, keep yourself warm with it, and you go and fetch it off the ground and carry it into camp.
What kind of wood is this?
That's principally mopani. All right, Ken, this is where you take your shower. Now, Ken, you have to adjust the height too.
I think I can make it underneath.
See if you can fit under. Well, only just. Unfortunately, it's empty.
So I just turn this on?
You just turn the handle on there.
Yeah.
If they do put it on too low, you need to tell them, and they can just haul it up a little higher.
How do they heat the water?
It's heated in a drum, right at the an old gasoline drum barrel.
Oh, they don't heat this?
No. They heat a barrel. They heat it in there, and then of course when you call for a shower, they fill this up. The important thing to do, though, is to turn it on and feel how hot it is before you get under it.
let me tell you, do the lions know not to come in this way?
Lions are not very salubrious. They scarcely ever shower.
Hunters Africa runs a traditional tented camp utilizing double tents that breathe. And they also have separate protective rain covers and vinyl floors.
Does not breathe.
My favorite place.
Well, the mess. Probably important for you is those are the freezers, or we call them refrigerators. They're gas operated. We built this from thatch simply because it's cooler than eating in a canvas nest, which some of our camps do have.
It's beautiful, directly on the river.
Yeah, that's the Chobe River, which is the southern channel of the Zambezi drainage system.
A great spot. All your camps are so beautifully situated.
You ever see hippo out here?
See hippo?
Oh, yeah.
On the island on the other side, you'll sometimes see lechwe. If you're really lucky, you see a surutunga.
After all the planning and packing and traveling, the first morning of the first hunting day is unforgettable. Along the floodplains and swampy areas, the red lechwe lives in groups of adult males, bachelor males, and females and young. Much like the American pronghorn antelope, they rely on their eyesight and distance for protection. But in the case of the lechwe, they live, feed, and take refuge in areas of shallow water where their specialized hooves allow them to move swiftly. Seeing a lot of lechwe and picking out a trophy male are two different matters. Even though they may stop and look back when they feel they have put enough distance between you and them, it is still best to try to see them first, and, in the case of a long shot, move to a good rest before shooting.
I see his horn. Yeah. Yeah, he's a good one, Ken. I think we should take him. Looks about 23, 24. He's got pretty good hooks. Let's get a rest over here. Okay, take it.
Yeah, it'll...
Get it. Hey? No. Ken, just get ready. You may come up. You hit him well, but these things are pretty tough. Hey? Where? Yeah, okay, stay him. Get ready. He's gonna turn. Watch out for that crocodile. I'm not fooling you. All right. Very nice. He's got a real nice curve. He's not as wide as a couple that we've seen, but he's got a hell of a nice curve to him. Look at that. Comes right up. He should score very well, Ken. Let's see where you hit him. See, he was facing. Yeah, he's facing from right to left. Yeah, you broke that front shoulder. Yeah. You notice the hoof there. How there's actually a bit of webbing in between, and how that's all skin there. Very, very little hair.
Is this like the Sitatunga in some ways?
Similar, but Sitatunga has a bigger hoof and more webbing. But this is, so they can travel through the water and through the marshy conditions.
Well, this is where they live in this stuff.
Right. Normally not in the deep water, but if they get, panicked, they'll move into deeper water.
Oh, he's a beauty. No, really, it's a lovely lechwe, red lechwe. Very unusual, the curvature of the horn. It's a really particularly attractive specimen. So you kept it out in the field?
Yes.
Yes. Now you've got this lechwe, which very unfortunately is linked up in the record books with the Kafui lechwe.
In Roland Ward, yeah.
Yeah, in the Roland Ward record books, and they really don't qualify. They should be subspecies, a separate species.
Well, Safari Club has a separate category for
Yes.
red lechwe.
So that's an absolute beauty.
This will make Safari Club, but it won't make Roland Ward.
Yeah.
And it's almost impossible to get a red in Roland Ward because
Yeah.
of the Kafui being in there.
This is probably the one I saw this morning when we met in the bush.
Right.
Yeah. No, he is perfectly lovely. I love the corrugations of the horns on these animals. Then you got the Mrs. Gray's lechwe, which you'll find up in the Nile, the White Nile in Sudan.
Should we go up and get one now?
Why don't we? It's only about 6,000 miles. Well done. A lot of controversy, of course, goes into the
choice of rifles, how to use them, choice of calibers. This is a rather unusual weapon I had designed for my own personal consumption, so to speak. It's a .375 Holland Magnum, custom made with a tip-off scope, which permits me to use the open sights, of which there are 2. And it's got a pop-up night bead, so-called, which is for dim light. And it has a bush protector, which covers it. And a lot of people are highly individualistic in how they carry a rifle. Now, this rifle is empty. I've made very sure of that. I normally, if I'm in the open, completely in the open, I put my left hand on the buttstock and sort of distribute the weight across my shoulders. But if things get hairy and thick, that's the way you take it off. Then you're in business. If things get hairy and thick, but you're not really sure and you've got a long way to go, this is a very good position. The natural weight of your hand pushes the rifle free from your body. And it's very fast because the rifle's already in front of you. So you can be on, just like that. What do you think about calibers? What would you recommend for a client coming in?
The average person doesn't use a .458 that well because he's not accustomed to recoil.
He's afraid of it.
Yeah. I don't like a multiplicity of calibers, so I like a man to bring one rifle.
Yes.
I like him to bring a .375, and I'm sure that's your sentiment.
May you go to heaven.
But of course, really the rifle a man wants to bring, his light rifle, should be the rifle that he uses frequently, that he's familiar with, and he, you know, if it's a 30-06 or it's a 7mm Remington, 300 H&H, which would be my choice, a 300 Winchester or 300 Weatherby, all good rifles, all very, very capable of doing what one wants to do with a medium caliber rifle.
May I suggest that the interesting thing is the location of the track?
Yes, I have a sort of vested interest in this particular leopard's location.
Zebra are often among the first animals hunted on a safari because they are generally plentiful and any mature animal is a trophy.
It's not exactly the bridge over the River Kwai. This is the best we can do. Considering the fact that you've got a rifle in your hands, most of the time on safari, there's always the possibility of some stupidity creating an accident. So the standard and safest manner in which to get in and out of a vehicle or to begin a hunt would be, first, I'll tell you the way I do it. Before loading, I check my sights, okay? I've got my bush guard clear. I check my scope, make sure that it's locked over, if you have that type of mount. Make sure it's clean. Yep. Okay, and then I check the power, because it's a variable powered scope. And it goes up to 8 power. Now, I'm going to a fairly thick bush, so I'm going to keep it at the lowest power, so I have a much larger field of view. I also have a choice of a magnetic post here. So what I'll do is put the safety off, open it on an empty chamber. My rounds are, of course, stacked in the magazine. Close it, put it on full safe, sling it, always keeping in mind exactly where the muzzle is. That's not somebody else's ear. and go off and hopefully try to shoot something.
All right, it's the one on the left. It's the Chapman's. Go ahead and take him. Good shot.
If you don't feel you can put an animal down with that first shot, or make a critical shot, don't take it. You can stalk more, you can do anything you want to, but you don't need wounded game. And I'll tell you there are two reasons. One is that you may lose it and have to pay for it anyway. And number two is the time factor, because every safari is limited in time because it's so expensive.
Did you see that, Peter?
Hey, I sure did.
I was sitting at an anthill over here with my binoculars, termite heap, and watched the whole thing. Congratulations. Thank you. Very good. You know, you've got an unusual trophy here. This is a, I would say, Jets, is a hybrid.
Yeah, very possibly.
Yeah. Now, of course, these are all Burchell zebra, as they're called in America, or as people who live in Africa call them zebra. But the difference between them is that the Chapman's, which is this one, has a shadow stripe, which you can see very clearly, which runs between the bold black stripes. And the other one does not, and it has more or less a pure white stripe. But it'll make a beautiful trophy. Are you going to have a rug?
Yes, I'm going to skin it for a rug.
Yeah. Right. The most important thing when you get back from a hunt is to get that rifle unloaded and the bullets stacked back in the magazine, in the case of a bolt action, or back in your pocket. Now, I've just taken it out of the chamber, I'm pushing it back in, and I'm holding it down with my fingers. And I'm half closing the bolt and putting my finger in the chamber to make positive that there's no round in there, and I complete that, and then I hold the trigger and push the bolt closed so it's uncocked completely. There's no possible way on earth this rifle can go off. I don't have to do anything in the sight except put the bush guard back.
15% of the animals are taken by the safari companies, not by the residents or local citizenry. And you understand that in any African country, in any developing country, the economic relevance of wildlife is the only factor that will ensure its future existence. Therefore, the greatest source of revenue is the most important form of utilization. And wildlife management is a form of land utilization. Now, the most productive land utilization, with wildlife as a central feature, is the safari hunting industry. Now, it is true that when the safari industry started, people would go out with immense bags. I can remember 8 zebra and 6 buffalo. Now today, hunters are far more selective. And in reality, the game utilized is largely the game which is no longer a relevant factor in the breeding pattern of the particular species. So that we're dealing with an industry that has to be profitable in order to survive.
I understand the economics, but how does that help the animals, or does it help the animals?
Well, go on, Peter.
One comment, and that is that the facts of life are the facts of life. And that if you lose sight of the fact that the very few selected trophies die, that the very many may live, and even much more important to the subject is the fact that habitat is preserved. Because once you take the plow to this land and you put cattle in here, it's gone forever.
The success of the Botswana game population depends on the fact that it is a combination of the national parks and the controlled hunting areas, which are many times greater in surface area than the national parks. So what I'm saying is that the national parks, which provide the facilities for your photographic industry, are part of the general ecosystem of Botswana, in which animals freely travel between the parks and the hunting areas. And in the hunting areas, the pressure is not so great as to move the animals for any other motivation but available food or available water. Then we have a healthy balance.
I think it's a very valid point that this company has actually gone to the game departments and said, look, we people in the field believe that there's been too much local pressure on a particular species. So there's a great deal of cooperation between the game departments and the safari companies because they really have the same object in mind, and that is the protection, perpetration is the proper word, yes, of a viable game population in a habitat that will sustain them.
Ça va?
You know, it's fascinating, just looking at these hippo behind us. Look out!
Come on! Come on!
Good show. Good show.
Let's go.
We just got this fright of our life with this chap behind us, and it kind of leads me to the conclusion that everybody comes through the coast on safari, and that is that African game is unbelievably difficult to kill, even with the very heavy caliber rifles.
I believe that the real reason for this is that most of African game is predator orientated.
Yeah.
The species has been distilled.
Look out.
The species has been distilled by virtue of its ability to survive. And it survives, the elements, but it also survives the predators. And whereas the horse has been bred to race and to carry and to pull, the zebra has been bred to survive.
True.
Consequently, a client goes out and he's going to shoot a little old pony to get a mat. And
This chap is making up his mind, and I think he's going to decide to come.
oh, I don't know.
I don't know.
Oh well. The person goes out and pops a zebra. Of all African animals, I've followed more three-legged zebras than the other.
Amen. That's the truth.
But you know, it's true of the smallest antelope, the impala. Their will to live is just tremendous. And I believe that the difference between it and some of the North American game, for instance, is the prevalence and presence of predators through the millennia.
I think there is fighting going on there.
Good fun. Give you a good idea of how primitive Africa can be. You know, it's a very unforgiving continent. It's a great place, but don't make any mistakes.
So there's one behind that bush facing away, huh?
There's one whose legs you can see.
Yeah.
These are
That
blue
looks like a young
wildebeest,
animal.
also known as black-tailed gnu or brindled wildebeest. They are much larger than the white-tailed gnu of South Africa, with the males being over 4 feet tall at the shoulder and weighing over 500 pounds. Despite their appearance, wildebeest are very strong and have excellent senses, but will often stop and look back and give you a shot.
Yeah, I kind of thought it would be a good idea to explain why I look so ridiculous. There's a good reason for the way I'm dressed and every item of equipment and every item of clothing that I have on. Now, if you want to look at my feet, they're pretty torn up. But the important thing is, if you wear a hard shoe without a gum sole or a good traction sole, you're going to make too much noise in the bush when you're stalking lion, buffalo, or practically anything else. So don't come out with cowboy boots. I don't wear socks. I don't think any professional hunter I know actually wears socks. And there's a very good reason, because most of the grasses indigenous to the African hunting areas have a seed which has a sharp point which will penetrate a sock, and that'll hold it in place. It'll get stuck in your skin, and it'll either fester or infect in one way or another. So I'd rather take the scratches and that sort of thing. Now, I'm wearing shorts for the simple reason that they make a lot less noise in the bush. So I'd rather take the cuts and scratches and that sort of thing. And the reason my legs are so cut up, and they're not actually too bad this trip, but is the fact that I'm looking up like this as I go through the bush, and I'm not looking exactly where I step. So I'm kind of taking my chances, and I'd rather have the scratches because they're minor. This is a standard bush jacket. This particular jacket is, let's see, 16, 17 years old. So they wear quite well. They have large bellow-type pockets here, 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 and this is for carrying extra ammunition. I had this made for .375 caliber, which is the caliber I generally shoot. I carry my binoculars on a tied-off string, so they just fit into this pocket, for the simple reason that when one bends down or has to crawl in a stalk, they don't swing free from your neck like this and drive you crazy. So they're very handy. And I might, while speaking of binoculars, say there's a little secret thing about them that most people don't know. And that is if you reverse them, in other words, where you would normally look through them to see something at distance, if you reverse them and look through a single lens, you can take something and bring it right directly in front of the lens, and it's a mini Microscope. You can see detail that you cannot see with the bare eye. I wear a monocle, so does Gordon. Some of the professional hunters do too, for the simple reason that I wear glasses for reading, and if I want to really inspect the track, I put the monocle in, and I have a look, and I can see my glasses don't fall out of my pocket. And it's not so much trouble to get at them. And when I'm finished, I simply open my eye. Out it comes. The object of this type of ammunition holder is the fact that, number one, it doesn't get hung up on bush, which could cost you your life with dangerous game out here, let's face it. And that's what hunting dangerous game is all about. But you can get a round out of there, or two, into your rifle. I load left-handed. Some people wear them on the right. In quite a big hurry, and believe me, when there's something breathing down your neck, the hurry becomes even more accomplished. But it's a very practical setup. It carries 10 rounds. I usually have a couple more stuck in various pockets just in case. The knife is really more for effect than anything else, but it comes in very handy because there are probably a dozen times a day that you have some use for it. I don't actually skin with this knife. The skinners, we have professional skinners who do that full time. But I always carry it because it just seems to continually turn up handy. And a very handy little item is what we call a torch, you call a flashlight. And it fits in your pocket. It's always there, it's always handy. So many of us carry them that we mark them with tape. I wear a beret, not to look really quite so much like a refugee from the Vietnamese War, but for practical reasons. Essentially, you pick up a great deal of dust and dirt in the air driving along these tracks, as we call them. They're sand, dirt, roads, just really ruts. And your hair gets tremendously dirty. It also helps a great deal to protect against one of the big dangers out here, and that is heat stroke, heat prostration, sunstroke, whatever you want to call it, dehydration, even though the thing is made of wool. It's a handy hat to hunt in. It doesn't get hung up in the bush and that type of thing, but as I look around me, a good stainless steel wristwatch that will take recoil from an express rifle, because you remember, that thing, when you fire it, gives quite a bit of thump. And it can be death on wristwatches, particularly very fine ones. Elephant hair bracelet to keep the elephants away. As you can see, it's pretty effective. Not one in sight. But essentially, that is why I draw flies and look so funny.
Sesame, or Sasabe, is another awkward-looking animal with its long, narrow face and its shoulders sloping downward to its hindquarters. But it is the fastest African antelope and can maintain its speed for miles. The males weigh over 300 pounds and reach 4 feet at the shoulder. The females are slightly smaller and have more slender horns.
There's no herd bull in there, is there? No. I don't see a decent bull in the lot. There's one young bull. The rest are cows and calves.
But if enough Sesame are looked over, It's not difficult to get a shot at a trophy because they are highly curious animals.
Now, this is the practical example of the wildebeest and the other antelope you killed this morning.
Sesame.
Sesame, correct. Both of which went into the record book.
And what is it cut into strips like this?
Well, it's a form of what we call biltong. Now, biltong is not to be confused with North American
Jerky?
jerky, exactly, which is sun-dried and thin-cut. This stuff, though, by the time these chaps get around to eating it, will be half rotten. They'll bundle it up like a cord of firewood, and in a way, it's a form of currency. And the point is that there is no protein wasted in Africa. And this right here is the best example of that.
Universal to Africa is the fact that these things are considered a totem of superstition.
Another thing is they believe that because of the independent eyes that a chameleon has, he can look in two directions at once.
Yes.
And his eyes are going like this, back and forth, consistently. The African believes that they always know the truth, and therefore are a magic animal.
You know, it doesn't matter how much civilization tells you, there are residual superstitions. I mean, many of our people won't walk under a ladder.
Exactly.
The Friday the 13th.
That's right.
Are no more logical than the superstitious beliefs of primitive people.
Yeah.
Sable are one of the most beautiful trophies in Africa. The females have horns, but they are shorter and straighter than those of the males. A typical male will stand 4.5 feet at the shoulder and weigh 400 to 500 pounds. To make the Safari Club record book, heavy horns of about 40 inches are required. The minimum for Roland Ward is 42 inches for the longest horn. An old bull's body becomes very black and stands out from the lighter females and younger bulls. Ken has decided not to shoot unless he has a chance at a very big trophy. But the old bull has worn his horns down too far. In fact, this younger bull has longer horns at about 40 inches.
We were speaking earlier about the Mopani and that sort of thing, and this is certainly another piece of real exotica.
That's a strangler fig, and if you look at it, you can see that the fig itself has grown onto that acacia tree.
A knowledge of flora is a necessary supplement to a good knowledge of fauna.
Mopani occurs in two forms, a tree like this, or the scrub form like this.
I thought it was interesting to point out that this Mopani is completely covered in mud, much higher than I can reach, and we've all seen them much higher than that. It is, of course, the product of elephants, which have been rolling in the mud, which they do to protect themselves from insects and to cool themselves, and I think they just plain enjoy it anyway. And then they will come and rub against these trees, and since they
are the most prevalent tree in the area.
Gordon, what kind of crazy stuff do you grow around here?
Well, that's a Landolphia vine. It's the same thing, it's the same family as the water vine you used to have in the Zambezi Valley.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
well, you cut it and
You cut it down there, and the
Yeah.
water will drain down through the stem.
well, you got me half bleeding to death just walking out here.
Well, you got
You got any more surprises for me?
I'll tell you these bloody thorns. Look at this.
No wonder I'm half bleeding to death. Africa's not very friendly, is it?
In some places, this is
Yeah,
quite a benign
this is not
area.
one of them.
I wouldn't recommend this particularly.
One of the most important pieces of equipment on a safari is the hunting vehicle. And the professional hunter needs to be a mechanic and vehicular medicine doctor. And a good winch is needed to pull the vehicle out of the mud. Or to move a tree out of the way.
Most often, when someone hears the term a hunting vehicle, it is misconstrued.
Yeah, I think definitely the vehicle's role is to get you to the point at which you can hunt and get you back again with the animal, hopefully.
Well, you're 15 miles in the bush and you shoot a buffalo, which weighs a ton or better, or say in the area of a ton. What are you going to do? Put it in your head and carry it out? That's where these vehicles come in.
The hunting vehicle also carries the safety and communication equipment. Kudu are considered one of the most beautiful animals in the world. They are especially difficult to hunt early in the safari season when water is dispersed and cover is heavy. Only the males carry horns, with those on the mature males having extended spirals. Kudu are largely nocturnal and are truly like gray ghosts, appearing and disappearing in the bush and seldom venturing into the open. That is a young bull with a horn length of only about 30 inches. Ken is looking for 50 inches or better. Ken positions himself for a shot in case a big bull walks into the small shooting lane he has set up. His professional hunter, Jeff Rann, is right next to him in order to help him make a split-second assessment of horn length. But the big bull they thought was in the group didn't walk through. There he is.
Don't shoot.
But he's not big enough, only about 40 inches. And this was the last hunting day at Chobe Camp.
I must say that I had an excellent time here, and I appreciate the fine quality camp that Hunters Africa provided for us. Next time I'm going to plan on spending some more time because we did see sable, we saw kudu, we saw many animals that were not unlicensed, also camera safari type things like
Right.
Elephant,
Oh.
water buck,
We saw at least 500 elephant yesterday.
hippopotamus.
Yeah,
We've seen-
I've seen up a little closer than I
Up
wish.
close.
Thank you. Yeah.
And then, of course, the dangerous game, which is another subject.
Yeah.
We did manage to make a stalk on a nice sable that was unfortunately broomed down to the corrugations, I guess you would call it, on his horns.
And when they get old, they'll do that.
And we saw several kudu up close, but nothing quite as big as I was looking for. So I had a...
Excuse me for interrupting. I think that illustrates the real point of trophy hunting, is that the selectivity of the hunt, and the fact that the reward is the product of whatever's put into it.
From the Chobe, Captick and Wilson travel west to the Itsatsa camp of Hunters Africa, located at the head of the Okavango Delta.
Now, in this delta area, we hunt. Principal species for the area is the Suratunga, the only truly aquatic antelope. And unlike the northern areas, we hunt the Suratunga from the Mokoro. A Mokoro is a dugout canoe, a very unstable vehicle. But because of its construction from wood, we have never been able to find any other canoe that can do the job. And we thus still hunt them almost as the traditional river bushmen hunted them through the centuries.
Yes.
As might be expected, the camp is located in a beautiful setting of shade trees along the banks of a main channel of the Okavango. As Captick contemplates the difficulty of fishing for tigerfish and bream, Wilson has a discussion with Ronnie Blackbeard, who will be his professional hunter. Ronnie is a Botswana native whose family has resided in southern Africa for over 160 years.
If I see a Suratunga, will I see it a couple hundred yards ahead of me, or how will I know that I have to get ready?
You may see it a couple of 100 yards, 200-300 yards, and you may see it 25 yards away. You can come around the corner and there it is on the edge of an island. But we will be hunting in grass flats. At the moment, hunting Suratunga is very difficult. The swamp is very high. There's a limited area of unflooded land. So they are moving away from the area deep into islands where we just cannot spot them, into the papyrus and the rest of it. But we're going to try and find our way into the grass flats that are not too deep tomorrow. Then we will see them at a reasonable range, and we can initiate a stalk. Believe it or not, in that dugout we will stalk them without getting out.
Sunrise on the Okavango.
I'll tell you what, I'll trade you 2.5 bream for Suratunga.
You better get a lot more bream than that and a few tigerfish for a Suratunga.
We had better both get busy, very busy.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, good luck.
Good luck to you today.
Yeah, we're going to take off right now. Our dugouts are over here around the corner.
So you're going down the river, we're going to go up.
Yeah.
All right.
So see you late.
You bet.
Which one's mine?
Ken, I'll give you the big one. You can just sit there and make yourself as comfortable as possible. And we've laid some palm fronds here. If you give me your rifle and get in, we can...
I sit here?
Sit right on the
Facing
seat,
this way?
facing your polar. And then we'll get this rifle in position so that it's comfortable for you and easy to get out. If you can just keep this rifle next to you all the time, when we get out there now, I'll show you how to stand and the shooting procedure and all that. Then we'll put the round in the breech and on safety, and we'll just keep it handy all the time. I know it can be a long day with this thing parked there, but just make yourself as comfortable as possible.
Unstable.
It's very unstable, Ken, and that's why we've stopped here before we go out into getting the serious hunting now, so we can just have a little dry run, getting you standing up and using the rifle offhand, because it's going to be freehand shooting. You may be able to utilize the pole. It's not always possible. If we're in deep water, the guy has to stabilize with the pole.
Now, why can't I sit? Why can't I shoot sitting?
You can sometimes, but most times you're going to get too much deflection through reeds and that, and you probably won't see the animal while you're sitting. The polars will see that animal long before us, and then we will have to stand.
Okay.
So if you can stand, and remember to stand always facing the dugout, don't stand sideways. If you can just get up slowly and stabilize yourself, put your feet on the outside of the dugout, knock-knee type of thing, just to stabilize yourself. But stand up straight, don't bend yourself, so that you just relax.
Okay.
And then you'll, if you stand long ways in the boat, and your recoil will throw you out of the boat and sink the boat for sure. That you must never stand sideways in the dugout. You've got to always stay so you can stabilize on the sides.
No, I think I can shoot this way and this way, but
Yeah.
what if I have to shoot
If you
back
have
here?
to shoot from that side, we will turn you. We will see the animal, and we will initiate the position that we want you in always. We won't make you shoot onto that side. We will always turn you around. So now if it comes to that, we say we see it. Just stand steady now so that he's going to move to you.
Okay. So he hands me the pole.
And try and utilize it as a rest.
Okay.
That's right. You're going to get movement, but you've got to try and work your animal.
Boy, that is going to be tough.
Most times, what will happen also, Ken, if the water is not too deep, I will get out of the boat to assist you in stabilizing your dugout. You'll see if I'm holding your dugout, it is a lot easier. Try that again with me stabilizing it. It's not always possible.
Well, I can see either the pole or you stabilizing is going to be a lot better than me trying to freehand without that.
As I say, we're regulated by the depth of the water that we will be in. Most times we will be in water about this deep, and I can help you to stabilize. Okay, if you can just sit down again and get yourself ready, because then you can put a cartridge in the chamber, and on safe, don't point your rifle at your pole in front of you if you can help it. Push it out to the side. Put it on your palm fronds. Yeah.
Facing to the side?
That's right, it's facing to the side. Don't point it.
I don't think there's anything probably more dangerous in the world to hunt. Under bush conditions such as we have here.
You're tracking a predator over whom your high-powered rifle does not give you that great an edge.
And of course, a successful case of man-eating, which has gone unwitnessed, by definition leaves no evidence. So a lot more people are killed than we think there are. Given the slightest opportunity at a foul-up on your part, in heavy cover, or even in the open, and he's going to take you.
Hunting around the world. From Alaska to Australia. From the Americas to Africa, Asia, and Europe. Sportsman on Film presents Captick, Hunting the African Lion.
Well, I think, really, that nothing has value unless it has cost. And the cost of a good lion, not in monetary terms, but in terms of risk, skill, persistence, is just extraordinary.
Be prepared is the motto on a lion hunt. Accompanying Peter Captick in pursuit of lion are Ken Wilson of Sportsman on Film,
As we were following,
Jeff Rann of Hunters Africa, one of the few U.S. citizens to hold a professional hunter's license, and Gordon Kundle, attorney, professional hunter, and the managing partner of Hunters Africa. Peter Hathaway Captick, former professional hunter. His writings have added to the considerable reputation of the lion, a reputation that he knows from personal experience. Botswana is the sparsely populated country to the north of South Africa. The best lion country can vary from the heavy cover near the Chobe River in northern Botswana to the grass and scrub savanna of the Great Kalahari Desert to the south. Two vastly different ecological areas, but both dominated by the same dangerous presence. The safari starts in the Chobe area.
No successful hunt is as rewarding as a successful lion hunt.
But you know, most people, or many people, think in terms of almost quotation marks, the helpless animal in front of the hunter with a high. You never hear of a low-powered rifle. They're all high-powered rifles, and the animal doesn't have a chance. Now, you and I both know very much better. And I visited a chap in hospital the other day who found out after 20 years of professional hunting that sooner or later you make a mistake.
Well, I don't know. I think for the people who feel that strongly, I would extend an invitation to come try it. And they could leave their rifle behind if they liked. The interesting thing about hunting lions on your feet, tracking them, is that by no other means can you learn as much about the animal be it a lion or be it an elephant. If you follow a specific animal, which you must do in these cases, you learn quite a lot about that animal. And you may follow him for days on end before you get him. You may come upon him, disturb him, and he disappears.
Right now, look. We're in fresh spoor. Don't look at the ground. Look ahead. Look for the lion. These other chaps are paid and they're a lot better at sporing than we are. But we're a lot better shots than they are. So...
Well, that's a good point, I guess.
That's the rule of the game.
I've been following the...
That's how you don't get nailed.
I think they've got something here.
Yeah, they do.
Running hard.
Lions are highly misunderstood animals, particularly those which the average tourist sees in national parks. In fact, they tend to be the most dangerous type of lion because they've lost their respect for man and are not terribly shy in pulling people out of tents by their heads and eating them.
Well, we can leave them now and give them a couple of hours. They're starting to warm up. Hopefully they'll go to sleep. They were lying down when we last put them up.
We're going to have to leave these chaps alone, because if we don't, we're going to walk down into them and step on them, and all kinds of interesting things are going to happen. So we'll let them settle down. We'll go off and do something else right now and come back in a couple of hours and pick up the spoor.
Well, I hope these lions are doing exactly what we're doing. Sleeping. That way we do have some sort of chance of getting to them. Normally a lion will go through a series of movements after daylight. He hunts during the night. During the day he rests. In the early morning he'll find himself a patch of sun in the road, a termite heap, a patch of white sand, and he'll lie there until he's warm. Then he'll move into light shade and probably go to sleep. And as the day warms up, he'll move once more, as a rule, and then into heavy shade, where he goes to sleep. And that's where we hope to find him. So that if you find a spot where a lion is laying down, you then start looking for him. You'll be quite close.
The trouble is that deep shade really means thick cover. And thick cover and lions equal trouble.
They just fell in like that.
Once we'd put them up, we really did not stand a chance of getting up to them again. But I thought what they would do is they would run and leave that sort of Combretum terminalia grassland and go out into the Mopani forest, which they did more or less do. The moment they hit it, they turned back. And then they started to circle. And that's when we left them.
Yeah. So in the Mopani we'd have better visibility?
Mm-hmm. I mean, you look out here, and you know, you're looking at 2 feet and 3 feet. Out there, you're looking at 5 feet.
I think, really, we were out of business when that lion thundered off, because they had cut a circle on us. They now had winded us. They're aware they're being followed, and they just never stopped and are highly unlikely to until they fall up somewhere. So we quit on them. The concept being so they wouldn't completely leave the area.
Will we try them again today or tomorrow?
No, tomorrow. Well, in the afternoons, these things are alert, and these particular lions are already disturbed, and they're in that terminalia. We're going to hunt them. We want to hunt them on our terms. In other words, where we can get at them and get a shot.
The average shot there wouldn't have been more than, well, it could have been an average of 5 yards.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, that was some
Well,
very,
look, when
very
they got
thick
up,
cover.
When they got up, I reckon they were 30 to 40 yards. What do you think, Jeff?
Yeah, that's
Now,
about it. You couldn't
in decent cover, even the stuff we have here, if they got up at 30 or 40 yards, somebody would have got a shot at them.
It was rather an interesting piece of real estate, that's for sure. It could have become very, very intimate You know, the thing that's always fascinated me so much about African cats, particularly lions and leopards, is that they're very, very difficult to approach under daylight conditions in heavy cover, often very shy or very aggressive. But at night they completely change character, and you hear that soft pad outside your tent, and it'll send a feeling through you that I'm sure the same one that someone sleeping around a campfire 1.5 million or 2 million years ago felt.
Two lions.
Yeah, two male tracks. They've come into the area from that side, from the river, and last night. Now they're going back this morning.
They keep leaving the road. What are they doing?
They're hunting, and we found where they chased a kudu bull.
Off to the right.
Yeah, didn't catch him, and now they've checked. There's a few pans that are just off the road into the wind, which they've gone in and checked and come back onto the road.
So they keep going off the road this way to check the pans, which is into the wind.
Right. The reason they're sticking to the roads more or less is that the grass is still wet from the light rain we've had, and they prefer to walk quite strong. But I think when they do leave the road, it won't be for very far off, and we should be able to catch up with them.
And there's still tracks on the road, so we're bringing the vehicle up.
Yeah. The tracks on the road, they're moving pretty well now, and the best chance for us to do right now is to get up until we're getting some fresh tracks, and then get out and walk again.
Well, we saw these lion tracks on the road about 7:30, and we followed them for a couple miles to a zebra kill. And Jeff then decided to wait until they had gone off and gone to sleep somewhere around 11 a.m. before we would get on them again. So we left the vehicle about 20 after 10, and we tracked them for about 4 hours. And got up close a couple times, didn't we? We saw where they were laying down and all. Now it's 10 minutes after 4. Is that right? Or is it 20 minutes after 2?
20 after
20 minutes after 2. And we got up real close one time because we spotted a lioness. And the lioness was just casually walking away, but the male tracks were with the lioness, but no male.
There was actually 2 male tracks with the one lioness. And they obviously taken off seconds before we spotted the female, and the wind was bad and the tracking was hard going.
Yeah, the trackers did a real good job just to stay
with it. Yeah. But the wind is really what spoiled it for us. Otherwise, I think we would have a lion.
Here's a good spot.
Okay, Peter, let's take a look.
Oh. Long day, eh?
No, hard one.
Now, don't you find it awful tough carrying a double? I mean, that thing weighs how much?
12 pounds. But, you get used to carrying whatever firearm you carry.
What do you think about the double versus the
bolt-action rifle? Oh, Peter, I think the bolt-action rifle is more accurate, far more versatile than the double.
Yeah.
But anybody who uses the double uses it because of some sort of personal
Well, of course,
prejudice.
you're a professional hunter. You got to protect people's lives at close cover.
I believe that the real advantage of a double is that you fire 2 aimed shots without taking the rifle down.
Right.
And if you, at very close quarters, under duress, you can fire 2 aimed shots very fast.
Yes.
Whereas with the bolt-action rifle, you fire, then have to reload and fire. Now, it is just a matter of practice. Somebody like yourself who uses a bolt-action rifle a lot can fire several shots very fast.
At the conclusion of each long day of hunting, and both before and after the gourmet evening meal, the campfire becomes the focal point. The hours of relaxation by a safari campfire often cement lifetime friendships between hunters and their pros.
Where did you hit him?
The bullet passed transversely through the back of his neck. Somehow it missed his spine, and it broke one of his lower teeth on the far side. But he must have had his mouth open as he was lying away from me, because there's no hole in his cheek where the bullet should have exited.
So that probably made him a little grumpy.
Well, I think that probably ruined his day, because he started to ruin ours. Now, at this point, there's a large clump of scrub mopane that he ran behind. I don't think he saw us. What he was doing was charging the sound of the shot. And we had to wait until he was about, well, I guess 20 yards off, something like that, which is pretty close, when, as Gordon said, you must consider that a lion can cover 100 yards in 3 to 3.5 seconds. I socked him in various places as fast and as rapidly, as frequently as I possibly could. Now, one concentrates so hard in a lion charge that I later asked the gun bearers whether the lion was making any noise, and they said that he was roaring fit to blow the leaves off the trees. And to me, I didn't hear a thing. I couldn't hear my rifle go off, but I did hear, and could consistently hear, a very odd sound at my left elbow where Gordon was standing. And it was the sound of click, boom, click, boom, click, nothing, click, boom. So he had, out of this supposedly incredibly reliable rifle, and I think it was probably the ammo's fault, he actually had 3 hang fires and a dud during a desperately close lion charge.
Gordon, when the hang fire occurred, how did you react?
I suppose, given the amount of time involved, that they revolved about short 4-letter words. On the other hand, you know, one, in a situation like that, moments in time seems to stand still, and it seemed to take forever for those damn things to go bang after they went click. And then a frustrating pause when the thing didn't go bang after it went click. But you know, you're really not talking about a great period of time. You're talking of just a few seconds. Each time the animal was hit, of course, he spun and turned and did all manner of things, which did give us a little more time. But we were down to minimum firepower by the time he got on the ground.
And how did you finally finish him off?
I think he was probably just weighted down with lead.
Yes, I think he couldn't walk any further with a load like that.
And how close was he to you?
Well, he was actually hit 10 times.
I think one of the things we must remember is that although Peter Captick gets a great deal of mileage out of the things that go wrong in a hunt, from mine and the other professional hunters' point of view, is we enjoy the hunts where the animal dies the first time round. Of course, on that basis, Captick wouldn't sell any books.
Well, heaven forbid it should ever happen, but should you get nailed by a lion, and it does happen, it's happened to most of my friends. I've been knocked down but not bitten. But should you get caught, remember he'll probably try and go for your head or your shoulder. See, what you've got to do is try and keep him off your upper body. Now, a lion's a lot bigger and stronger than a man. So the best thing might be to start things off by feeding him your rifle, if you can't get a shot off or it's jammed or it's been knocked out of your hands. And then proceed to feed him, perhaps if you're right-handed, your left arm. Grab his tongue. Anything you possibly can to distract him until help can arrive and shoot him off you, happily without shooting you too. And that'll be your professional hunter who knows how to do it, because he's probably had practice. But it's quite rare for a client to be mauled by a lion.
Chasing these lions through this heavy bush. Hours now, I don't know how many miles. We bumped this pride of 5 or 6 females. And there's a good male with them. But we haven't been able to get a decent look at him. I see him out here right now. It's very unusual because we've actually sort of herded these lions who've been keeping ahead of us out of this heavy bush and actually out into a floodplain. They're wandering around like a bunch of pussycats. But when you get that many lionesses, you're really looking at the excellent possibility of a charge and very possibly a multiple charge. Now, I've just had a good look at the male over here, just walking along, and I could take him very easily from this big stick in front of me. But I think I'm going to wait a few more years until he needs a barber a little more badly, although he is shootable. I think a lot of people today in Africa would take a lion because he's a big one. But he just isn't quite long enough in the hair department, which happens to be one of my problems. But I think we forget the hours and the miles. We just pack it up. And the other thing is that lioness off here to the left has been fighting or has been injured, perhaps by another lion, by a buffalo, perhaps even by a poacher. And she is limping, and we've been pushing her a bit hard. She's been hanging to the back. I'm not going to get involved with her because she's going to come, and I'm going to have to shoot her. And it's going to be very, very bad news for all of us when it comes to paperwork. So I think we'll leave this chap for another 2 years, and that's about that, and we'll go find another pride.
The next pride will have to be found in the Kalahari Desert, where the primary source of liquid for the lion is the blood of its victims.
This is an area of great misconception. We call it the Kalahari Desert, and in fact it's no desert. It's a savanna, a grassland scrub savanna. It's not unlike West Texas in many areas. What it is, in fact, is an ecology of water-independent animals. Animals such as the kudu and the eland, the lion and the leopard, which drink regularly in the northern areas, survive without water for a few weeks or months in a year.
As you can see, water's life out here in the Kalahari Desert. This water truck, well, it's actually a tractor with a pull behind. The water drums had just arrived, and we were virtually out of water. And the logistics of running a camp, of which there are several in the Kalahari run by Hunters Africa, just on the basis of water, let alone fuel and food, are immensely staggering. Probably the only word you could use. Everything must be flown in from very, very great distances. We've, I think, literally come from the middle of nowhere to the far end of nowhere. But this stuff has come 200 miles, and it's used for everything. It's highly rationed. We're able to shower every 2 days, and that's a half a shower compared to the previous camps we've been in. But it's the only way you could possibly be down in this marvelous, marvelous hunting country. Not but about a mile off. You might have a kill. I think first thing, that's our business. We're gonna try and sort out the tracks. They may have come this way. Yeah. But he may have killed just up here. If he did, we've got pretty good odds in the shot. We had some visitors last night. Go around here. This is the shower. The bloody lions came in. I see there's 6 or 8 of them. And they had some cubs with them. And I suspect probably one of the younger ones. Just completely tore the shower down like a sword stroke.
I hope you weren't taking a shower at the time.
No, I don't take late showers.
That probably reminds you of Psycho.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I shouldn't be upset on my tent is a full 20 yards away.
Can't believe it.
Well, they passed within 5 feet of the tent. It's quite common for lions to come in and camp at night. And as I've said, these cats completely change their character. At night, they become much more bold and aggressive. They think nothing of walking through the camp. There's rarely problems, but they do happen.
In the vastness of the Kalahari Desert, the hunting vehicle becomes very important, and the head spotter rides on the cab, silently directing the driver with a long stick.
Can you see them?
Yeah, 4 or 5.
4 or 5 of them now.
While Captick hunts with Kundal, Wilson heads out in a different direction. Ronnie Blackbeard is his professional in the Kalahari, and Ronnie is no stranger to Botswana. His family has resided in Africa since 1820.
Glad you guys are back.
So weird.
I'll bet.
We didn't find a thing.
Well, I'll tell you what we did. Now, you haven't taken a Botswana lion. I didn't follow this chap up, but when you take the track around camp, the one that runs this way, there's a very big spoor crossing the road. Now, I tied a piece of toilet paper to the tree so you can go like the hammers
To get down
there. And I've had them make up some sandwiches for you.
Good.
Now, he's with a female, so you're going to really have to watch your step because you may get not only a single but a double charge. But he's got big feet. Now, these Kalahari lions aren't too much in the hair department, but they're big lions. But that track was practically smoking early this morning.
Let's have a look what they marked it. They're worth following or not. See how fresh the tracks are. There's a male and a female here.
So what do you figure, a big male with a female?
It's a male and a female, and it's very fresh. It's definitely worth following, and it's nice and hot now. So I don't think we'll have to go too far.
So maybe they're laying up somewhere.
They're more than laying up or with a kill. You know, if they won't move too far, if they killed them in the early morning. And they're definitely on the hunt here.
Do we follow them on foot or in the vehicle?
No, we'll follow them with a vehicle for a while, and then we'll leave it further on when we see it's getting a little bit fresher, and then we'll leave the vehicle there. Because they can go for a couple of miles, and we'll just cut the distance down a bit.
It's a pretty nice Ginsburg.
Yes, they've just killed that just now, very recently. They haven't eaten anything yet. They're not far from here. Yeah, it was a pretty tight fight, you can see that. He gave them a good go. He backed himself into this bush here. Yeah. And he wasn't going to go easily.
So what do we do now?
Ken, I think now that he's close. Now you can see where they've run off here. We're going to just get straight back onto this trails now and take off. There's two of them here. It would appear it's a male and female. And we're very close to them. They ran away from us. You can see the skid marks here where they took off. They were lying here with it. And the quicker we do it, the better.
Shall we go off on foot or do we follow them in a vehicle?
No, we're going to go in the vehicle because we'll assess up front what is actually happening with these things, and then we'll decide, because he's running really fast here. Now they've both taken off, and they're going to split. The female and male will split.
Why?
And then we'll take the male. They always do. They split. We'll take after them, and if you'll get onto the back of the vehicle, at any stage this thing charges, I want you to take it from the vehicle. Otherwise we are going to get off and get into position once we know where he is. But if he charges, for goodness sake, take him from the truck, because we're all in danger on the back of this vehicle here now. He may charge, he may not. We'll do the best we can later on.
So should I put one in the chamber?
Put one in the chamber on safe, and watch your guys all the time. Just
Okay.
be sure on that. Ken, come on, let's go. He's in this bush here. Come on, let's go. Let me grab that gun. You're going to bullet in the chamber, eh?
Yes.
Right, let's go. They're just in this bush here. He's standing just between those two bushes there. Wait, he's looking at you, but don't hit him in the head. Shoot him in the chest. You can give him another one now. Be careful. Be careful. Right, let's just move back. We can get a better position from here. Come in on the side of me. That's better. Can you see him now? Look, he's giving you a broadside shot. Take him in the shoulder. Okay, Ken, let's run. I'll go in front. You can keep behind me. Okay, he's down. Let's just move up slowly. Put another shell in there. Okay, you got a shell in there because the dead ones are the ones that get you. Now, come on. Dead.
Dead.
Yeah, he's dead. He's a huge lion. Huge body.
In hunting any dangerous game, what you must ultimately always bear in mind is don't be afraid of spoiling the trophy or wasting a bullet, because they're very, very cheap compared to modern hospital costs. Pay the insurance, unless you are so absolutely positive it's dead, and then only shoot him once again. But the number of people who have been killed